Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of South African Coin Talk. And it's great to be back with everyone. With us on the show tonight, we have Richard Stone, who's from the South African Mint, and we have quite a juicy topic that Richard has so kindly agreed to share with us tonight. And the topic is called the Krugerrand, the inside story. And it's more around the evolution of the Krugerrand. So welcome, Richard, and thank you for making the time available to grace us with your presence again.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for the opportunity. A pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Great. And I just want to touch on your last talk that you did, Richard, and I must say that it was pretty damn well received by many people who actually viewed it live and also on the YouTube channel. I'm not sure if you've received any comments on it.
I haven't personally. No, I'm pleasantly surprised with the result and the positive reception that we got. It's always a bit intimidating. I'm by no means a numismatic expert. I've been involved with the design of coins for about 6 years now. And it's always very intimidating sharing stuff from the Mint with your online community who are consummate experts. So it keeps me on my toes. I'm happy to contribute.
Thank you very much, Richard. And again, I just want to reiterate, tell you, thank you very much for actually sharing with us some of the stuff that the normal numismatic community would not have the opportunity to view or to grace, and also for getting the necessary permission from the powers to be to actually share such information with us. And if you can, just take back our thanks to the management of the South African Mint as well.
I will do so, Anthony. Thank you. Yeah, it's important to note that I'm not making any pronouncements on behalf of the Mint. This is in a personal capacity, and all the information that I'll be sharing today has actually been shared with the public or with at least our dealers in public presentations, and also at the World Media Forum presentation in Berlin at the World Money Fair in 2017. So no secrets today, but happy to share what I think should be interesting for someone interested in coins.
Brilliant. Thank you, Richard. Richard, before we get into your talk, we're just going to go into some current affairs around the numismatic world, and more especially in South Africa. Just an update again, previously we spoke about the South African Mint, an update, and more especially Coin World and access to the community itself, the collector. What is the latest status on that?
Anthony, I'm happy to say that the Coin World is open. Well, sort of. It is. You can place orders online, and you can phone in, and you can come pick up your product. We will bring it out to your car. The friendly Coin World staff will help you. Unfortunately, the Coin World itself, the shop itself, is not open to the public. And this is because we are maintaining the highest possible safety standards at the Mint, being a national key point. We don't want to compromise the health of our customers or our staff. And as a result, Coin World does trade, but not in the usual way. You can place an order and then come pick it up. We'll bring it out to your car.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing is the priority is the staff, which is crucial. And that's your biggest asset at the moment. And it's more just keeping the lights on at the Mint so that you can roll and make sure that certain collectors are getting items that are available as well. And I'm sure that the pandemic would have played a big role in the current situation.
That's right, Anthony. We are, like other organizations, have been affected by the safety regulations that we've had to implement. So our operations have been prioritized. to ensure the safety of the staff and also to ensure the continued production of circulation coins. And I think those two aspects have been prioritized, and rightly so. I'm happy to say that we have been able to produce collectible products, but certain collectible products have been put on hold. We are focusing specifically on gold products, although we have started up with silver products as well. But products like Tiki and Crown, Silver Crown, the color crowns, Protea, all the product lines, with the exception of Krugerrand and Big Five, have been put on hold indefinitely, and it's anybody's guess as to when we will commence with those product lines again. We're focusing on stuff that are low volume, high profitability, and as a result, most of the silver product lines have been stopped temporarily.
Great, thanks for that information. I think you do realize that the Protea series, especially the R1, has been a very favorite collecting area for many a collector, and it was quite an uproar when they heard that it was suddenly halted. But given the valid reasons behind it, I'm sure the collecting fraternity out there will understand the predicament and the situation that the mint is currently faced. And like you rightfully say, this has been put on hold indefinitely. And who knows, that in a few years' time, maybe it will resurrect itself again.
Yeah, Anthony, I myself am one of the fans of the R1 Protea coin. I think the last 6 iterations of that product has featured some of the best artwork by Lillian Guerra, our senior resident artist at the Mint. Beautiful coins, really beautifully made, the product of a collaboration of more than 50 people, from conception to being sold. Yeah, and it's sad to not be able to carry all the product lines that we usually do, but there are some very hard realities out there, and the Mint is focusing on what's important at the moment.
Well, I'm glad that at least the South African Mint is doing something to keep the collector happy, and some of the new product lines that you guys have come out with is absolutely stunning. I mean, the artwork on some of those crown-size coins are absolutely mind-blowing, and I think it's been well received worldwide, not only locally. So yeah, well done to the South African Mint and the team for producing some of the most beautiful coins that this country has ever seen.
Well, thank you on behalf of the Mint and also all the people outside the Mint that contributed. I am very proud of the level of artistry that we've been able to maintain over the past 6 years. We've try and do things better every time we do them. So I think on product lines, like for instance, the Big Five, which was a big critical and commercial success from the start, we have put an enormous amount of energy and hard work into raising the levels of artistry on the coins, and you'll see that series 2 of Big Five, it's amazing. What goes into the development of a coin, it comes out on the other side, and you see where all that effort went. Happy with the result.
Absolutely, absolutely. Richard, the last point I just want to touch on from a Mint perspective is, and this is actually taking the market by quite a storm, is the Reserve Bank set that was issued just recently to celebrate the 100 years of the South African Reserve Bank. And I must say that I personally have a set, which I bought on the secondary market. And it's surprising to see so many sets on the market. Again, a great artistry in there, well thought of. The Crown R5 coin is absolutely stunning. And if my memory serves me correct, the mintage of those coins that the South African Mint was told to produce is 3,450.
Yes, so you're talking about the Saab Centenary set, which is a 3 coin set, actually a 2 coin set and a rectangular silver sterling silver medal. And to my best recollection, 3,450 was the limited edition of that set. Yes.
Okay, brilliant. So if one looks at the actual set itself, one should just ignore the number that's printed on it. The actual number is 3,450. I think the pandemic had a lot to do with the change of direction with that set. Initially, it was produced as a commemorative to celebrate the 100 years. And CoinWorld was supposed to get a small consignment to distribute to collectors, I believe about 50 sets.
Yeah, so the initial idea was to produce some additional sets and then to offer them for sale. But this project started before the pandemic, and the decision was made to limit the sets to a limited edition of 3,450. So no sets were actually sold through CoinWorld or were indeed available to any of our dealers. And I think that's where the interest comes from, is also the fact that 10 years ago, when we celebrated the 90th anniversary of the Reserve Bank, a gold-plated bimetal sterling silver crown was also issued and wasn't available for sale to the public. And I think people who bought that coin are quite keen to get their hands on one of these coins now.
Okay, brilliant. Richard, thank you for that update from a mint perspective, and I'm sure that most of the collectors will find that information quite valuable. Okay, so thank you very much for that. So I just want to move my attention quickly. I've had a chat to Glenn Skuman today, and there's some exciting things coming up in the pipeline. So on the 10th of November, guys, just remember that there will be a meeting being held for the National Numismatic Society in Johannesburg, and that will be at the Rand Refinery. Okay, it'll be at the Recreation Center. So guys, there's strict security protocol that needs to be followed. There is a registration form that you would need to fill out and make sure it gets back to Glenn with your registration number if you're traveling by car, etc. So adhere to all those. If you need any further information, please contact Ursula on 1010-615-0018. Ursula at 1010-615-0018. I'm told by Glenn that there's quite an interesting agenda that will be produced for that day. We're going to have Shane Kennedy from the South African Mint that will be present, and he will preview some of the changes in the product range for 2022 from the South African Mint. Glenn is also going to speak to you on something that is quite a find for South African numismatics currently, and that is the design and the design of the first trial striking of the felpont of the brass ruler die that was done in the felt. So that is quite an amazing find for South African numismatics. And if you go out there, Glenn will have a sample of these coins. They were struck in uniface, obverse and reverse, and they've been put into a slab. So I'm sure Glenn will pass that around for people to have a look at. If that design was passed, it would be the felpont as we would know it today. But that design was rejected, and the felpont that you see now is the one that has been passed. So a trial striking of the felpont in lead uniface will be shown. Then over and above that, we're going to have a talk by Michael Kaplan as well, and he's going to talk to you on strange money of the world. So that should be quite mouth-watering as well. And then lastly on the agenda, but there's other items there which Glenn would discuss on the day. There's going to be nominations for the Stan Kaplan Trophy, which is the highest award one could receive in South African numismatics, and that is to an individual who will get a trophy and a medallion. Okay, so I'm told that the meeting will start at 1700 hours on the 10th. The actual meeting itself will start at 1800, which is 6 p.m. The hour preceding that will be devoted to drinks, snacks, and socializing before we get into the meeting. Okay. One of the important things that's going to be discussed at that meeting is the resurrection of the Association of Numismatic Societies. And that is a body that actually represented all numismatic societies in South Africa. They were responsible for negotiations with government, etc., with, as we know, with capital gains tax and other legal aspects pertinent to collectors. So that association is going to be resurrected, and I think Glenn will communicate to all numismatic societies about the affiliation and becoming members of it. It will protect not only the society, but also the members. The other exciting thing is that I need to inform you is Morgan Carroll's token book, which I'm told is gone to the printers, and that is quite an achievement. I'm told it's going to be about close to 500 pages, printed in color, and those books should be arriving on South African soil in the not too distant future. We're going to have a meeting next week to talk about the distribution of those books and how we're going to allocate it. But Glenn would communicate to the numismatic societies on that. There's also in the book something called a crypto. There's prize money that's been allocated to numismatic societies. So if you can decipher the crypto as a team of numismatists from your society, and Morgan Carroll has generously sponsored this event, and there's quite a large sum of money that will be distributed to the societies to further the running of your society and promoting it. But more of that will be made to light as soon as we have our discussion next week. Lastly, before we end up going to Richard to do his talk, we've got some exciting talks lined up for the future. We're busy working on a talk on shipwreck coins off the South African coast. Professor Francois, and that talk will be done by Dr. De Bruyn. Then we've got the decimal series, which is going to be resurrected by Professor Francois Milan. And we're also going to go into talks on discussing the cancellations of the government nota. So as you can see, we've got quite a fantastic lineup. We're trying our best to sustain the hobby in South Africa, to keep it running, to keep it active. But without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Richard to actually take us through his talk and to run us through his presentation. Richard, over to you.
Thank you, Anthony. Give me a second. So the presentation that I want to share with you today is the result of the work that was done during the course of 2015 and 16 in anticipation of the 50th anniversary or the Golden Jubilee of the Krugerrand, which was first issued in 1967 and turned 50 years old in 2017. It was my honor and privilege to be employed by the SA Mint during this momentous occasion, and believe you me, all of us that worked on this project, and I must qualify that this is the result of the labor of more than 50 people. We really did feel the weight of responsibility producing or redesigning or augmenting a coin which is indeed a part of our national history, certainly a cultural icon, an economic imperative for our gold producing industry and mining industry, not to mention the numismatic significance of this product. So it was with this weight of responsibility on our shoulders that we started the project. Now, of course, the Krugerrand was further to a protracted engagement between the Chamber of Mines and the Ministry of Finance. It was launched in 1967 as a proof product, and the bullion product followed 3 years later in 1970. What made the Krugerrand very successful was that in 1974, the US government unbanned private ownership of gold, which I believe was implemented in America since the Great Depression. And by unbanning private ownership of gold, which was an act which was followed by many European countries, this unleashed a significant latent demand. And at that stage, the Krugerrand was perfectly positioned to serve this demand, as it was the only readily available, reliable investment gold product in the world. So immediately competition started in 1979 with the launch of the Canadian maple, which was followed by the Chinese panda in 1983, and then the US eagle in 1986, and the Australian nugget in 87, and then much later, the next year, the Austrian Philharmonic. So the Krugerrand is the original. It is the most tradable coin in the world. It is the most traded coin in the world. And it is the original gold bullion coin. In 1985, US-led sanctions were imposed on South Africa because of apartheid, and the importation of Krugerrands to the USA was banned. Also in Canada, also in Europe and Japan and Australia. So this had very adverse impact on the demand. But in 1991, US-led sanctions were lifted, and this led to a resurgence. I think what's made the Krugerrand successful is that it has been consistent. The quality, the design of the Krugerrand has remained more or less the same. It is indeed a durable investment product, given the fact that it's a 22 karat alloy, and the Krugerrand was initially intended to be a coin that you could carry around in your wallet and actually use as currency. So it is durable. It is also, it's authentic. I mean, it is made from gold that comes from South African mines, and it is the original. It's also reliable because it is legal tender. The Reserve Bank will guarantee the value of the gold of this product, and will indeed pay you the value of the gold, making it a very reliable product. And of course, it is a tradable product that can very easily be turned into money. And I think this is what made the Krugerrand the big success that it is today. So the primary purpose of the Krugerrand was and remains indeed the adding of value to South African gold. And you can see in that graph there, since 1970, the percentage of South African gold production that has been beneficiated by the Krugerrand. And you can see the impact of sanctions which hit in late 80s, 90s, which basically put the Krugerrand to sleep before it was unbanned in 2001, and then really picked up and became one of the big players. I'm showing you graphs that are 6 years old, but you can see even then, and I believe the situation has improved since then, that in 2013, which is now 7 years ago, the Krugerrand represented roughly 20% of the global bullion coin market. And in 2015, the maple was slightly outperforming the Krugerrand, which I believe those roles were reversed a couple of years ago. It's anybody's guess what that situation is currently. So as you can see, Krugerrand is the most widely held bullion coin in the world, and since 1970, only over 52 million ounces of gold have been manufactured into bullion Krugerrands. This equates 7% of South Africa's total gold output since 1970, which is an amazing achievement. So in 2017, there was the opportunity to look at the Krugerrand, extend the product lines, look at different metals, relook the typography, relook the models, relook the designs, the beading, and of course, we didn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So each of those design elements were individually analyzed and considered. And indeed, all the coins that were issued in 2017 came with that Privy Mark that you can see in the upper left-hand part of that image, the 50-year anniversary Privy Mark, which I believe was also applied to bullion coins in 2017. So there you see the original design of the Krugerrand, the 1967 issue. Boy, would I love to own one of these coins. And one of the things that we wanted to do in 2017 is we wanted to reissue this very coin. It was also an opportunity to augment the product wherever we had the opportunity to do so. And what you see there is a reissue of the 1967 coin. It's important to consider how special this is. This is not a replica of a 67 coin. This is actually a reissue of the 67 coin using the original tooling that the 67 coin was struck with, because at the mint we keep as record all the dies that are used in the production of Krugerrands. This still features the old typography or the font that was used for the word Krugerrand and the writing at the bottom, and of course the world famous Krugerrand model. These coins were differentiated from the original 67 coin by having a Privy Mark on the reverse, as I explained on the obverse. It had we put this Privy Mark, which indicates that this is legal tender issued by the South African Reserve Bank in 2017. And I believe only 1,967 of these coins were made. And these coins are so true to the original 67 coin that you will find some imperfections, the same imperfections that you will find on the 67 coin, you will find on the reissue, which we released in 2017. This is a fascinating document. It's something that I've spent hours looking at and studying. So what you see there are a typed up register of the 6 different alloys that were originally considered for the Krugerrand before they settled on the 22 karat gold, copper, silver, zinc mix that we have currently in the Krugerrand. They tried different alloys, and I just love these names that the mint gave these concepts: sovereign gold, reddish color, good yellow, slightly lighter than fine gold color, pale yellow, deep yellow, rich yellow, and excellent yellow. And I think from that last name you can deduce which one they like the best. It is, I will invite your viewers, Anthony, to pause this video and actually to read the remarks that the metallurgist at the mint prior to 1967, what they wrote of these different Krugerrands. So legend has it that obviously all of these Krugerrands were produced, and that these Krugerrands were then presented to the Minister of Finance to select his favorite color, or the color that he thought was best. And if you look at to the right bottom hand corner, you can see that he ticked rich yellow. But then the people at the mint didn't agree with him, so they crossed out that tick and ticked excellent yellow, which was the color that they liked. And this is the color that was used for all Krugerrands. Subsequently, you see I've had to block out the different gold, silver, copper, zinc composition of the different alloys that they tried. But it also means, fascinatingly, that these 6 Krugerrands, these original Krugerrands in these unique alloys, exist and are actually out there. And boy, would I love to have a look at them, to see the Krugerrand in a different color from the alloy that we are all familiar with. So 2017 was also the the year in which the first silver Krugerrands were produced. And these were produced in both proof, as we still do every year, and also a once-off brilliant uncirculated, both of them featuring the Privy Mark, the 2017 Privy Mark. And I think close to 500,000 of these coins were produced. It was also the first year in which the first, last, and only platinum Krugerrand was produced. And I believe an amount of 2,017 of these coins were produced. Also a coin that I would love to own. Some considerations before we started with looking at the design elements was proportions, thickness to diameter ratio. So the ideal would be, irrespective of the size of the coin, whether it is a 5 ounce or a 50th ounce, to have the same proportional relationship between the diameter and the thickness of the coin. And obviously, the ideal would be to have a constant. And that is just not possible because the heavier or the larger a coin becomes, the thicker you want the coin to be, because the pressures you need over a large diameter on a coining press become immense. And similarly, the smaller the coin becomes, the thinner you want the coin to be, so that you can have as large a diameter die as possible. What we decided would be unacceptable would be to have a disparate and inconsistent proportional relationship between diameter and thickness. But what we thought would be our goal is to have a staggered or tapered relationship between diameter and thickness, being a smaller proportion in bigger coins and a bigger proportion in smaller coins. So what you can see there is where we initially plotted. On the vertical axis, you've got the diameter in millimeter, and on the horizontal axis, you've got thickness in millimeter, and how it was quite a struggle to position new additions to the product line. So in the past, we did 1 ounce, half quarter, 10th, but this would be the first time that we would do a 5 ounce and a 50 ounce Krugerrand, also a 20th ounce and a 50th ounce. As you can see, we tried to keep those proportional relationships between diameter and thickness as consistent as possible. Our biggest concern, though, was resolution. To explain, up until 2017, we produced bullion coins in 1/2, quarter, and 10th ounce, as we still do. But we were also producing those coins in proof format. What we wanted to do for the 2017 Jubilee is we wanted to firstly add a 5 ounce and a 50 ounce coin, which is more than 1.5 kilograms. But we also wanted to add a 20th ounce and a 50th of an ounce. That would mean that we would need more resolution that we've ever used, because we've only been producing the 1 ounce coin. So that what you can see there is a very rough first strike of a 50 ounce, 1.5 kilogram coin that I'm holding in my hand there. And you can see that it was one of the first attempts. The landing isn't up. There are rolling marks, there are finger marks, but it gives you an idea of the size of this coin. And what you see there, please excuse the cell phone camera photography, is a 50th ounce, which was the smallest Krugerrand. So we wanted to make the biggest and the smallest Krugerrand ever, both in proof, and the challenges were quite numerous. So if you consider that on a 1 ounce coin, the biggest Krugerrand that we had produced up until 2017, with a diameter of 32.69 millimeters, it gave you a surface area of 804 square millimeters, where if we were to do a 50 ounce gold at a 100 millimeter diameter, the area would be more than 9 times, almost 10 times the surface area of a 1 ounce coin, which means that we had to use a model or develop a model with resolution 10 times higher than what we had ever done. As you can see at this stage, there was even the idea of that we might have to go to a 50 ounce silver coin at 130 millimeters, coin that was never produced. But we had to potentially come up with a resolution 16.5 times higher than what we had on the 1 ounce. So just to give you an idea, the size difference between those two coins, if you put them side by side, the technical challenges to produce those coins to the same manufacturing standards were quite massive. And the requirements for resolution was worlds apart. To put it another way, if you consider the size of a 32.69 millimeter crown, 1 ounce, that's 804 square millimeters. We would have to produce a model for both the obverse and the reverse with a resolution 16 times higher than what we had. So there were different sources of model information. Firstly, for the obverse, there was the work that Otto Schultz did back in the 19th century. There were also all the dyes that had been used and the matrices and master punches since 1967. We also looked at the coins that were produced as a source of resolution. Also the design, the dyes and tooling from 2000 on forward. And we even tried to engage and try to see if Tani Sassi, who was chief dye sinker at the Mint years ago, and is a legend in South African numismatics, were considered as a source of information. So what you can see there are the production dyes of Krugerrand through the years. Looks like those are from the 70s. And what we did was we would scan these dyes and use the resulting 3D model over each other so as to increase the resolution of what we had. You can see some of the dyes that were used for the obverse. And there's an example of what that scan looked like. And if I show you on the next slide, is the initial model that Tina Skippers, chief dye sinker at the Mint, did. So you can see that the amount of resolution on the dyes and what we actually ended up with were worlds apart. Our greatest source of information or resolution is, of course, the wax model that was done by the German dye sinker Otto Schultz in 1891 for the ZAR. And what you see there is a photograph of the original wax model. This wax model is owned by the German central bank, and it's a bit worse for wear. You can see that there are some significant cracks, one running over the cheek, lots of cracks, lots of pitting, and you can even see on the temple the outline of a paper clip, a large paper clip that someone left lying on top of or underneath, which also caused the wax model to suffer from a bit of damage. But a wonderful source of information as to what the original design intent for the modeling was. When we compared the detail of the wax model that was done, the original wax model, to the amount of detail, so if you compare that to the amount of detail that we had ended up with on the coin by, let's say 2016, 49 years later, you can see that a significant amount of detail had gotten lost. It was certainly our intention to put all that detail back. We also consulted all the photographs that we could find of Paul Kruger, to look at the structure of his face and of his beard. If you consider that wax model by Otto Schultz in 1891, and what you see there is the model that was done by Tinus Skeepers in 2016. You can see that we used the opportunity to put a lot of the old detail back into the coin. We did these reliefs that looks like a computer rendering. It's actually a photograph of the model that was it was cut into corian, this white substance, which we then photographed, and then we would apply the tonal values of the photograph as a layering effect over the dyes for the proof coins. I'll get back to that. It's a bit of a difficult concept to understand, but suffice to say that the transition from the model to the coin really did restore an enormous amount of detail back to the Krugerrand, which had gotten missing over the decades. For the reverse, obviously, Kurt Steinberg model, we actually have at the SA Mint the original 1946 5-shilling model that Kurt Steinberg sculpted himself. The 1946 dies and coins was a source of information, but also the dies and the coins that were produced in 1968 in anticipation of the release in '69. And we also had in our archives the 1946 Kurt Steinberg concept drawings, beautiful drawings, which I'll share with you now. So what you're looking at there is the original copper plate sculpture by Kurt Steinberg. You can see it includes the typography. It looks silver there. It's because someone at some stage took some silver spray paint to it. It's actually made of copper, and that is sculpted by Kurt Steinberg himself. Amazing the detail that you see, especially on the back of the springbok, and also the details of the landscape at the bottom. And keep in mind that when this model was made in 1946, there were very limited options available to die sinkers to note tonal value. So the black stripe that runs down the springbok's side were indicated by a texture because of the opportunity to use other means were not available in those days. And if you compare, if I toggle between these two images, that's a 2016 Krugerrand. If you look at the tail of the springbok, you can see how much information had gotten lost over the decades from the original artwork. There was the opportunity to restore that. So that's the 2016 coin without the augmentation. This is the first layer of scanning, and this is to see that there was the opportunity to add lots of detail. This is the result of several scans superimposed over one another. But we also want to be conscious of the fact that, as noted by Brian Hearn in his famous book, there was some degree of simplification that the Mint affected to the Krugerrand in 1982. And we're not sure why. I think it's for reasons of manufacturing, but consider that 1982 Krugerrand had a lot more detail in the landscape than the post 1982 Krugerrand. There was an opportunity to go back to the original drawings and models, put some of that detail back. So what I'm showing you here are the concept drawings that Kurt Steinberg did, and it's some of these are absolutely beautiful drawings. Also, if you consider what could have been, what the Krugerrand could have looked like, because all of these drawings were done with the Krugerrand in mind. But it's also plain to see that there were some numismatic principles that Steinberg didn't have a handle on. He was a brilliant sculptor, truly a genius in his own time. But overlapping figures don't work well on coins. It looks awkward. This was the first drawing. This one was numbered number 2. And you can see he was toying with the composition made up of 2 different antelope at this stage, trying various solutions to the same composition, to show the movement of the animal. And then from drawing number 7, you can see that he started considering a single figure, also in motion, some of them stationary. It's the only one done on canson paper, different paper than the other drawings. 2 figures side by side. This absolutely gorgeous drawing was the last one that he did. And by the way, all these drawings, we used 5 of them in 2017 for the Natura Krugerrand range, where we actually made 24 karat gold coin set down to, from a 1 ounce down to a 20th ounce. These are beautiful coins, and sort of shows you what the Krugerrand could have looked like. But these are the ones you can see if you look closely on the back of that drawing. It's written in ballpoint pen, and on the back of the drawing, some of the comments, and specifically this drawing, not the composition of the figure itself, but the detail of the aloe and the landscape that we used for the final drawing. And that is the drawing that was the final one. On the back, he actually wrote, "This is the one to use, but only have 2 aloe flowers," and minimize the detail. So if you look at the drawing, not a lot to work with, but you can see that Timus Skippers did a very good job of capturing the original design intent and not losing any of the detail. And you can see the Korean model that was photographed of that model there. We also relooked the font in which the name Krugerrand in South Africa is applied to the coin. We looked at the 1946 typography, the typography which then changed in the year 2000. You can see that the original 1967 typography, look at the R's, quite a sharp descender on the capital R's there, which on the 2002 coin had become like a more rounded serif typeface. And we then commissioned Jan Erasmus, who is a consummate typographer and certainly South Africa's foremost typographer currently working today. He's been able to help us with a variety of projects and a beautiful typeface. I'm happy to say he didn't design it on computer. He designed it on graph paper with line pens, the way it's supposed to be done. He designed a whole typeface, of course, called Krugerrand. He designed all the glyphs. This is a fully functioning typeface that we sometimes use on Krugerrand packaging. He designed this in light and bold and in italic, specifically for application to the Krugerrand, also with qualities of the line work on the typography that is very well suited to extrusion in metal. And you can see that was the typesetting that Jan did for us. One of the things that we tried to do in moving the proof product forward, we would sort of have like a cameo frosting on the Krugerrand up until 2016, but 2017 we wanted to use tonal value. Now that the most striking aspect of a springbok is the black stripe that runs down the side. So what Kurt Steinbach was, he indicated that by just having a sort of textured stripe running down the springbok side. But not sure if someone who hadn't seen a springbok would read that as a dark stripe, could just read that as a particularly hairy patch running down the side. So what we did is we took this photograph and then we added to it. You can see there These were some of the earlier iterations of how we would apply different frosting filters. So we would frost our dyes not just with the sandblast or with glass beads. We would actually frost them with a laser machine, so that the result would be a dye. Which is one of the first trials, just to see what the result and tonal value would be, to sort of add that black stripe and that tonal value variation to the proof product. And you can see there, if you look at on the coin on the right, there was the proof silver, that we would have a tonality to our frosting, which would add a level of detail to the proof coins that you didn't see previously. Yeah, so that you can also see there that we kept the texture that would stain back applied to the black stripe of the springbok, but used the laser frosting to make the belly the lightest tonal value, and the black stripe the darkest. We spent 2015 and 2016 developing a new packaging system, a modular packaging system, which was a major consideration in trying to bring out the price of our products. We developed a packaging system which is made out of hazelnut, and it's covered in piano varnish with metal logo inlay. I'm sure our supporters and customers will be familiar with this, but we also developed some very high-end packaging systems, specifically for the 5-ounce and for the 50-ounce gold coin, just more than 1.5 kilogram of gold. And what you see there is the box that we had made from graphite. I can't tell you how much work went into developing this packaging system, but it was truly a momentous product. So what you see there is the 50-ounce single coin product in the graphite box, and specific extruded metal inlays that were developed. Some of the most, certainly the most high-end packaging system that was developed for the SA Mint. A lot of work by a lot of people went into this, and I'm very proud to say that the Mint won first prize at the Mint Directors Conference for this packaging system. This product also came out the same year that the book, the Krugerrand Jubilee book by Professor Francois Malan, was issued, and it is one of the books, authoritative books on the Krugerrand, detailing all the design elements and development, history, and evolution of the Krugerrand. And then, of course, in 2018, we added to these new product line extensions by the very first 2-ounce Krugerrand at a 40mm diameter. And the year following, in 2020, we issued the first 2-ounce silver Krugerrand, and those products have proven to be very, very, very popular, and have revitalized our Krugerrand product offering to some extent. In 2017, the premium uncirculated as well as the proof silver was launched for the first time, and the bullion for the first time in 2018, with the 2-ounce silver being introduced at the beginning of 2020. And I think that concludes my presentation. I hope you find it interesting.
Wow, Richard, that was fascinating. Really fascinating. It makes me want to go back now and actually start collecting the Krugerrands from 1967 onwards in a date format. And what intrigues me is the various alloys that were used and the different color coordinations.
Yeah, I'm hoping that someone watches this video and actually knows where those 6 coins are. I mean, I think They should be in a set together as they were presented to the minister. And even if I mean, even if I just get to see those coins, what they look like today in like a video, I'm hoping that someone can track them down or know where they are. Imagine what those coins are worth.
Yeah.
But besides their worth, just from an interest sake, I think that's a fascinating aspect of the history of the Krugerrand.
Just quickly going back to that document that you actually displayed with the various alloys and the descriptions. Which years would those have been issued in?
So Anthony, those coins were never released. Those were prototypes. So if I can go back to this document, those would have been prototypes that were developed specifically to consider or to help inform the decision by the powers that be. That would be the Minister of Finance, the Executive Committee of the Mint, the Board of the Mint, the Governance Executive Council of the Reserve Bank would have made those decisions. And this document was a record of, firstly, the alloys that were used, that were considered. And I was surprised to find out that there were 6 of them, and how they gave them. The only way that you could distinguish them visually from each other would be by their color. So the names that they were given, I love those names: excellent yellow, sovereign gold, reddish color. And then some of these remarks contains some caveats, like where they would say, for instance, pale yellow, this is the softest 22 karat alloy in the gold, copper, or silver series, mainly used for the manufacture of 18 karat white gold by addition of nickel. And some of them, they would say, it casts well and is hard, excellent wearing properties. And so, some of these also said, that it, some of the drawbacks, they would also show you the flame temperature or the melting point of these alloys. They were all different. If you were to anneal them at 600 degrees Celsius, result would you get from it? So this is really a look into not just the recipe of the Krugerrand, but the recipes of the different types of alloys that would be considered for the Krugerrand. And let me tell you, to hold this document in your hand from the original archive, it's absolutely fascinating coming across treasures like this. I hope you guys find it as interesting as I do.
Definitely, I'm intrigued by this here, and I'm going to ask you if you can send me a copy of that particular slide so I can print it and have a read of it.
Sure.
One of the things I'm not sure if you can elaborate on it is that, and this is just my knowledge of the Krugerrand, is that the first frosting of the Krugerrand occurred in 1968. I'm not aware of any 1967 that was frosted.
Yeah, my understanding, which is limited, and I would imagine that there are people watching this video right now that are far better informed than I am. But my understanding is also that cameo frosting started in 1968. The first coins had a bullion finish. That the first proof coins came out in 1970, but as proof coins. But whether the first cameo frosting was in 1968, it sounds about right. But my level of knowledge is not that detailed, unfortunately.
So, did you get your daily dose of exercise when you held that huge coin in your hand?
Yeah, no, it makes a great paperweight and doorstop. Yeah, look, it's also those large diameter coins are very difficult to manufacture. You would think that the bigger the coin is, the easier it is to make it. No, it's not. The bigger the coin, the more difficult. And to make those large volumes of 50-ounce coins, it requires an enormous amount of pressure, but it also requires an enormous amount of time, effort, and energy that goes into the manufacturing of tooling to make blanks, and to roll the metal to that thickness. Your scrap rates in the manufacturing process are quite high. But then your premium is also, far over double the price of gold. So those are fascinating coins, and I don't foresee that those 50-ounce coins will ever be manufactured. What I should mention, though, is that in 2017 we produced a 5-ounce gold Krugerrand for the first time, and then we said, wouldn't it be a good idea to produce those coins every 5 years? So the next year that those coins will come out is 2022, which is next year. So we will be, we hope to, conditions being what they are, but we hope to produce 5-ounce coins again next year. And obviously that's quite a pricey thing, but it only comes around once every five years, and it'll be in a substantially lower mintage than the 5 ounces that were produced in 2017. So that would really be a coin to own.
Sure. That's amazing, really amazing. I just want to go back to 2017, which must have been quite a huge hype, and the planning for that must have been a few years before that.
Oh yeah.
And I know that the South African Mint were hosts at the Berlin show for that year. I was privileged to see some of the videos, etc., that occurred. Unfortunately, I could not make that show. But what a momentous occasion that was for the Krugerrand, especially the ingenious idea of producing the first silver 1-ounce Krugerrand with the 50th Privy Mark on it.
Yeah, really 2017 was a very big year for the Mint. It was a Herculean effort by our sales department under Shane Kennedy. From a marketing point of view, it was a massive mountain to climb, and then Simon Metzing took care of that. But also Christine Roux sort of held the whole thing together and was in charge of creating, as you say, the awareness and to fully exploit the opportunity for publicity for the brand and to establish the brand for years to come. And we were indeed hosts of the Berlin Money Fair in 2017 in Berlin, and there was a big gala event that Christine Roux organized, and Abdullah Ibrahim played piano while we ate a 7-course meal. It was a very big year, and it was just 2 years after I joined the Mint, so I really felt the pressure, but also very fulfilling to be involved with the product brand at that stage.
Excellent. I'm taken back to 2017, and I'm just going to talk Krugerrand specifically, because I mean you've really, I think this talk is going to really create much awareness now into the Krugerrand, especially some of those designs. When I look at some of those artwork and what the Krugerrand would have been today had some of those designs been passed, especially the double springboks, etc. And more intriguing is the work that went behind trying to create the black stripe on the springbok through the frosting.
Yeah, it's always technology always moves forward, and there's always new opportunities, higher resolution, ways of modeling things, not in clay or in plaster of Paris, but in 3D on a computer. And I'm happy to say that at the South African Mint, even to this day, a lot of modeling happens in clay. You know, there are certain things that just, for instance, likenesses. If you wanted to do a portrait of someone, modeling it in clay is a much better idea than to do it in 3D cyberspace. But the opportunity to make use of what technology can offer us now and to bring that into the Krugerrand, certainly we didn't want to miss out on. And I think one of the big ones was to actually add tonal values. So in our frosting, to go beyond cameo frosting, which is basically just a certain area being polished and a certain area being matte, to be able to have variations of different severities of frosting. The dye sinkers tell me that you can set the laser to either melt the metal, but you can also set the laser to evaporate. So that you could use and you can use different intensities of both of those effects. So you can actually add tonal values, but there was nothing wrong with the Krugerrand that we had to fix. We just wanted to restore the original detail from Kurt Steinbach and Otto Schulz. And I think that was our first responsibility.
When I look at all the trial strikes that you showed us, some of them that were done and are currently in the Mint archives and museum, it's you know, people might think that it's just a plain easy job just to design something and put it into production. But it's amazing that how much of work goes into striking these trials, discussing it in open forums, etc., before finalizing on, you know, the end product.
Yeah, if you consider the challenges for our technical guys, you know, in manufacturing support and development, in R&D, in die sinking, in die manufacturing, going to sizes that we've never worked in, from a 50 ounce to a 50th ounce, using new tooling, working in different metals, working in silver for the first time, producing nearly 500,000 of those BU silver coins in a period of less than a year and a half. It was a massive effort by a lot of people, and you know, just from a research point of view, the work that Charlene Bergman did, Lawrence van Niekerk in the gold room, from a manufacturing point of view, enormous challenges. 2017 was also one of the most profitable years, obviously for the collectibles business at the SA Mint, because this only comes along once every 50 years.
Richard, we're going to round up shortly, but again, I just want to go back to 2017, which, like we said, was a very momentous occasion for the South African Mint. And I'm drawn to something that I received through various channels overseas. And while the South African Mint was present at the Berlin show representing mints of the world, there was a special passport that was issued to collectors, a blank passport. And these passports, you would then go to each mint store, and that mint would give you a coin pertinent to that country. I noticed that the South African Mint had 2 slots available to them. One, you put a circulating R1 coin in there, and the other slot was designated to a medallion that is probably the size of a Kruger pont, that you put in there. And that was, just elaborate on that, was that specifically made for the 50th anniversary for the Berlin show only?
Yeah, so those coin passports, I think, as they are colloquially known, you have them every year at the Berlin Money Fair, and it's a way of ensuring that people go to all the stalls. You get like an empty passport, and you walk from stall to stall, or you have to seek them out. And when you get there, they put one of their circulation coins in, and they stamp it that you've been there. and if you fill up one of those passports, you can sell it for a substantial amount of money. People collect those passports, and some people will go to the Berlin Money Fair for no other reason as to than to get their passport for that year. In 2017, you're right. There were 2 slots. The one I don't think it was for a R1. I think it was for a 20 cent. With the Protea on the reverse, and
the one that I have has got a R1 in it.
Is it? It's entirely possible. I've been to 5 of those Berlin Money Fair, and yeah, it's entirely possible that it was a R1. And yes, the medal is very similar to the design of that plaque on the graphite box. And also bearing the design for the 50th anniversary was on the one side, and on the other side, I think there was also another medal with Rand Refinery logo on the one side and the SA Mint logo on the other side, if I remember correctly. Forgotten about that medal. Right, the medal and then circulation coin.
Okay, now I haven't seen the one with the South African Mint and the Rand Refinery. Now you've got me intrigued, so I've got to start looking, and that's the joy of this hobby.
It's out there somewhere.
But in closing, Richard, just a quick thing. Coming back to 2017, I see that we stuck with the traditional design of the Krugerrand, more or less. Was there any appetite or temptation into changing the design for the 50th?
Certainly not. I think, you know, there's the Krugerrand is such an iconic product. There's nothing. There was nothing to fix. There was nothing broken there. It was just a case of finding all, you know, all the detail that we could from authentic historical sources, and putting that back into the coin. Not just because we wanted to, but also because we had to for the large diameters. There wasn't enough detail or resolution. So it was also an opportunity to sort of breathe some new life into the design. And so you will notice that the beading on the coin changed ever so slightly. The typography changed ever so slightly. But we didn't change the design. It's still the Kurt Steinberg Otto Schulz design that was put together in 1967, 68 and released in 1969.
Excellent. I'm glad, because you quite rightly say so, that the Krugerrand is an iconic product, well recognized by anyone throughout the world, even if you're not a coin collector. It holds its weight in gold. It's tradable anywhere in the world. Richard,
wonderful.
I thank you kindly for your time and for this wonderful presentation, which I know is going to go down very well with the numismatic community. And on behalf of myself, Glenn Skuman, who is unfortunately not here today, but he gives his best wishes. He's eagerly waiting. So is Professor Francois Melal. I spoke to him today, and he's eagerly waiting to see this presentation. But thank you once again for your time. I will be touching base with you to see what else you can conjure up with your metal detector in the archives, so we can have another wonderful talk from you. But a well-presented presentation, and please, thank you, and take back our thanks to whoever was necessary to be thanked in the Mint.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for the opportunity. Always great to be part of this.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Okay, that's it, folks. We've come to the end of yet another very interesting show. I will make the link available on YouTube. Guys, you need to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and also click on the bell to be notified of new content that will be uploaded to the site. And like I said, we've got some very interesting talks coming up that we're going to be uploading there. So please go and subscribe, click on the bell, and we thank you for your time today. So until next time, happy collecting, and we hope to see you soon. Goodbye.